Welcome back to the show. The Turkic American Alliance is the largest national Turkic organization in the U.S. This week, they met in Washington, D.C. at a conference that was attended by bureaucrats, businessmen, and some senators. And while political unrest and the economic ups and downs were on the agenda, so was the importance of a friendship between Turkey and the U.S., which many say will contribute to world peace.
The Turkic American Conference in Washington, D.C. brings together foreign country delegations, U.S. lawmakers, the business community, and political and economic think tanks.
We are really glad to be a part of this great nation and to be able to do this in the nation's capital, to be able to create that kind of a venue for them to interact, especially for the business people.
This fourth annual conference is bigger than ever and focuses on energy, trade, and development this year. Many U.S. lawmakers make it a priority to show their support for ties between America and Turkey.
Because they are such an ability to form bonds, to increase relations, to help our economies in both countries grow. There's so much opportunity.
Many of the Turkic states also lie in a part of Central Asia that's become a hotbed of unrest, especially because of Russian aggression in Crimea and Ukraine.
6 of these countries represented today are former Soviet republics. They walk a very fine line. They have multilateral diplomacy, friends of Russia, the United States, European Union, China. But there are special pressures right now because of Crimea. And so we want to make absolutely clear that we stand with our friends, but we don't demand to be exclusive friends, as some others do.
And that's a welcome message for many young nations looking to grow, especially with connections in the United States.
In the Turkey countries, Silk Road countries, so they have huge potentials also. So that's the whole purpose for us to bring those over here, you know, slowly but surely.
Dee Dee Benkie, international journalist Mustafa Tabanli, and I will talk things out along with Dr. Faruk Taban. He is the president of the Turkic American Alliance, and he joins us now from Washington, D.C. Welcome to the show. Well, we want to discuss with Dr. Taban exactly about the TAA and why it was established. Can you hear me? Okay, we're going to get back to him in.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Dr. Taban, can you hear us? Dr.
Yes.
Taban, can you hear us?
I hear you.
Hello and welcome to the show. We're so
Yes.
happy you could join us here at Fresh Outlook. We want to talk to you about the Turkic American Alliance, of course, and exactly why was it established? Take us through. This is the 4th year that you actually had this conference.
Yes, we are really happy to be able to create that kind of a venue to invite the Turkic leaders and Turkish leaders to the capital, D.C., here, the Washington, D.C., to be able to interact, for them to interact with their counterparts here, the Congress people, the embassies, the government officials, and other NGOs. So it's a very rewarding experience for us in that 4th annual convention.
Now, you've had these conventions now for 4 years. What is the purpose of like bringing everybody together, and what are you trying to achieve in the next couple of years?
The purpose is we are a broader umbrella organization, as you know, and we are a grassroots organization. So when we try to create that kind of a relationship with the Turkic counterparts and Turkish counterparts, and here the government officials, I think it's the major accomplishment to be able to reach out to all the communities, not just in Washington, D.C., but in the state locals, in the districts, because we do state house conventions in 45 plus states in the course of last 3-4 years and multiple times. So that's the whole the bottom line, to be able to provide that kind of opportunity to be kind of a voice for the Turkic Americans, not just the Turkish Americans. As you know, the Turkic Americans in this great nation.
Well, Dr. Taban, it sounds absolutely fascinating, and we're so glad that we're down there covering it. Also want to ask you, Mustafa, we heard from that report that we saw just a few minutes ago that a lot of these countries are former Soviet republics, and also, many of the countries that are there are also in a state of turmoil, Turkey being one of them. Yeah. Why is it more important than ever to make sure that our relationship is a good one with the U.S.?
Well, I think in the politics, everybody is nice and on the table. I mean, you are important to me. Yes, you are important to me. but that doesn't go a long way. But non-government organization and business partnerships.
Well, it is Washington, D.C. Come on. Yeah. You know how it is.
Oh, Dee Dee.
But the non-government organizations, they establish this kind of pipeline that transcends the politics. Politics goes ups and downs. But if you have good trade relations, etc., then that will open a lot of doors, and then you go back to your own country and say, you are doing this for your own politics, but it's hurting the economy because our counterparts, the trade partners, are saying this and that. Maybe you want to reconsider. So I think it's very important that non-government organizations should play more and more essential roles in trade business and establishing this contacts.
Now, of course, Turkey has been in the spotlight the last couple of months, obviously. Some of those Twitter bans and some of those YouTube bans, we've been talking about that. We had something interesting happen this week, if you want to fill us in.
Well, yes, the Supreme Court lifted the Twitter and YouTube ban, and then they opened an account themselves. So now Supreme Court has
kind of interesting there, Dee Dee.
That's great. I love that. Well, and that was, a big black eye, not for the people of Turkey, but for the leader. And it's like, why in the world would that happen? So that is good news that that's been lifted. And it's helpful for business, too.
But I do want to talk about, you had 3 top officials that were in Ankara, and they were talking about sending troops into Syria, and that was caught. And now there's a ban on that as well. Yeah. So, there's been a lot of different things that have happened in terms of social media.
Yeah, I think there are several misconceptions, and every time something like this happens, a lot of people yell out treason, treason. But the journalist has to report, and this information comes to a journalist. It certainly goes to all the intelligence agencies and Syria as well. If you are not publishing it, what good does it do?
Well, as an international journalist and as a Turkish citizen, what are your thoughts on the many bans that have been put on journalists in Turkey?
Well, I think these are a transitional phase, and the journalist is not going to giving up. They are just pressing their rights. Even with Twitter ban, it didn't work. People just find the back doors and get in, and they just tweet it anyway.
It's never going away.
Yeah,
the government can try to shut it down, but all they're going to do is make the citizens angry. And
they're going to make, what else they're going to make angry? They're going to make the journalists angry because, we're never going to give up.
And also, there is a recent one that didn't hit the headlights yet. There's a new intelligence bill that gives rights to get into bank accounts.
I was just going to talk about that.
Trade accounts, and that also raised a lot of concerns on the business part.
Well, why are Turkish investors and U.S. investors so concerned about that? And we can also turn back to Dr. Taban down in D.C. Dr. Taban, we're actually talking about why Turkish investors and U.S. investors are concerned about the recent developments.
As you said, it's really the critical, because that's the democracy is has a real importance here in this country. So they would like to see the same the features in the other countries that they would like to invest. So when you look at that point of view, so they want to see the stable and the economy, for example, and the democracy, the government. In those issues, that's really critical. In that point of view. They had some the concerns when they do more investment, but I truly believe that in the long term, so whatever we see in the last couple of months is gonna go away, and then we keep going, and we keep raising all the standards, EU standards and the worldwide standards in a desired manner.
Yeah, and remember, there is this, in the August, there's a presidential election. So it's like one election ended and people thought it's going to come back to normal, but there's another one in August. So probably we will see a few controversial laws coming from the government until August. But I hope after August it will come back to normal. There's a pressure on the business side.
And there was also the recent developments in Ukraine and Syria that was raising concerns about the east-west transfer of energy as well.
Yes, and that's those Turkic countries, and Faruk Taban knows much better than me. They are essential on those trade.
So we're going to wrap this segment up in just a minute, but final thoughts from you, Dr. Faruk, and I'm sorry, Dr. Taban in D.C.
Thanks for the opportunity. So we are going to continue with those kind of the events, not just in DC, as I said, the nationwide, to be able to open up those opportunities for all the stakeholders from the Turkey countries. As you know, the theme was the energy, trade, and development. That's really critical. They have a huge potential to move forward. So we're going to keep bringing the people and the business people, the legislatures, and the academicians, the media people over here, to make sure that we have their desired the outreach in this country.
Well, Dr. Taban, we thank you very much for being on the show, and congratulations on a very successful convention. And again, thank you for being a guest on Fresh Outlook. We'll be right back, everyone. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. Don't go away.